Hello out there. Welcome to the Heavy Montae's podcast and my comedy show. Tonight, the Veterans Edition. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that I am a veteran. And tonight, we're going to talk about being a veteran and being in the military. You know, I want everybody to know that I was 17 years old when I went into the military. And my first DJ show, and I've been a DJ since I've been a little boy. I've always loved music. Casey Kasem, you understand? Soul Train. I always loved music. And so now I'm going to show you a picture of me at 17 at my first DJ show. And here we go. You see that 17-year-old kid, huh? Going into the military at the time of the Vietnam War. Didn't even think about it. Just wanted to get out of South Carolina and Jim Crow, you see. But in South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina, where I'm from, it was a beautiful place. Even though it was the heart of the Confederacy, there were some damn good white people in Charleston, South Carolina. And I was friends with all of them, you see. And I'm friends with them today. And a lot of them are Republicans, you know. You can't tell me anything about them. I don't know how they vote. I'm not going to ask them. They're my friends, and I love them. You see what I'm saying? But America, the reason why I'm talking about the veterans tonight is because Donald Trump called all veterans, especially the ones in Vietnam, the Vietnam veterans, losers, excuse me, and suckers. But I want to tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. You know, I talked about my last podcast how I used to work graves registration in in Korea. You know, and sometimes we only found enough of our dead to use DNA to prove who they were or who they are. Excuse me. You see what I'm saying? It was a good feeling, You worked. I worked in that facility, and every time we found a war dead, my heart beat. I was happy. I was happy, a sense of euphoria, right? And I I couldn't wait to kick the results up to my commanding officer and say we found one of our war dead. You know what I'm saying? So, that parent that waited all that time to find out what happened to their child, I saw it in my eyes and I felt it in my heart and I said, wow, I wish I could be there to see it, huh? To see that sense of something that had ended. And I know what happened to my child, you see. America, the veteran, I'll give you some experience. Christmas time, you know, I'm from South Carolina, and I was stationed at Fort Jackson, South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina. And I live in Charleston, South Carolina. I can go home, anytime I want. And I got family all over the damn state, my language. You see what I'm saying? And I used to say, look, I'll stay here at Christmas time because somebody had to stay back, some of the soldiers. So, so the soldiers can go home and visit their loved ones at Christmas time. But some soldiers couldn't go home and they were chosen to have to stay. And I saw grown men crying in the bathroom on Christmas Eve because they couldn't be with their family, but they were there to protect a great nation. You see what I'm saying, America? And now we, America, our veterans are separated. Some of us. You know, Donald Trump was able to separate the veterans. But I want to tell you something. I'm going to tell you why a lot of veterans are separated and why a lot of veterans are upset with the government. Democrats and Republicans. Okay, when you have veterans talking on the TV, they'll tell you, I don't think we got a fair break under either administration. even though I'm a progressive, I'm like Zach Top, that country and western singer. I love his music. I never lie. Check it out. Zach Top. I'm endorsing it. Because everybody needs to stop lying, tell the dang on truth. You see what I'm saying? But going back, I'm saying to you, veterans have been really, really screwed over. Now, I'll tell you some life experience, you know, where I, as a veteran, was harmed, I felt, by my government. My younger sister died, and I fell into a real depression. My younger sister died 18 years old of cancer, and I loved her. She was a Cyndi Lauper fan, and she was beautiful when she got cancer and died. And I think that would shock anybody into depression. And the military wasn't there for me. Go to work, it's your problem. You see what I'm saying? They never addressed mental illness. You know, when a man is depressed because his sister died, that hurt me. You know, you know. I went on. I was in the military for 12 years. I got out. But anyway, America, I want to say that was something that happened probably to a lot of soldiers. You understand? You know. Then the U.S. government promised us stuff, healthcare, but the healthcare sucks. My brother told me, he said that the VA hospital in Charleston, South Carolina, no, I'm not going to lie, it's really good today. It's a beautiful hospital today at the time. He said the VA hospital in South Carolina is a perfect place for you to go to die. And if I get sick, don't you take me there. And I never went to a VA hospital in my life. Today, I was afraid to go to a VA hospital, you say, you know. Like we shouldn't go to a regular hospital. They got some separated stuff for us. Well, what do we got, a disease or something? You know. Then if you get ill or sick or you have a problem that takes years, you'd be half dead by the time they finish your claim. And I'm going to tell you something. As a federal worker, the VA was like one of the worst organizations to work for. They can get nobody to work for them. Shit, that was a horrible place to work. I applied for a job there one time, and they kind of picked me for the job, and I went for the interview, and I said, hell no, I'm not working for the VA, because they weren't working for us. And both administrations, because I have served as a federal employee under several different presidents, so I don't be lying. So you have veterans come on and he tell you, I got suckered I'm screwed by both parties. He's telling the truth. He's not being, partisan, not partisan, whatever you call it. He's telling the truth. He's not getting the service that he should get. Okay, I told you two stories, right? Let me tell you another one. I was hired under the VRA. Just got out of the military. So I just got out of the military and, I'm lost. I'm crazy. I'm uncivilized. I don't know what the hell's going on, in civilian life. I'm on the military now. I'm like Rambo, I don't know what the hell's going on. But they had, which I'm a member of today, the American Legion. So I went by the American Legion and I said, look, what's going on? Listen, you put it for a job, they got this program called the Veterans Readjustment Act. That means that they're going to, give you, a job, a federal job. You see, you get a job working for the federal government, then all my military time would count, towards my retirement. That's a good damn deal, right? And at the American Legion, they helped me type up my application, and I got a job, okay? And as a black man, I don't like to use race, I got a job in Alaska. But I took the job in Alaska, because my grandfather always told me. He said, hey, go where the job's at. So I took the job in Alaska. And I'm in Alaska. I had a nice apartment, And I went to school with a lot of lawyers. And they like bourbons. I was drinking some bourbon, watching TV, kicking back in my little small apartment. And it was a nice apartment for me in Alaska, in Anchorage. Anchorage is a beautiful town, beautiful city. I love it there. And I'm watching the TV, America, And all of a sudden, this breaking news, local news, Fort Richardson today say they are doing away with the Veteran Readjustment Act and firing all veterans. You see what I'm saying, America? I'm from Charleston, South Carolina, and I got a lot of family in Alaska, so I'm safe. My family loves me, and my family take care of me. Anyway, America, here I am in Alaska now. I don't have a job, you see, but I'm good at what I do. I don't have a job, but I got a resume, yeah. And my color doesn't matter because my resume stands for itself. And I would say, if you read my resume, you would hire Heavy Montae. So anyway, and no affirmative action. I don't believe in affirmative action, so you can't sell or stick that crap down my neck. So anyway, I am the best at what I do. I get educated, and I am the best. So my resume was good. You see what I'm saying? So my boss at the time, her husband was the director of the state police, and I was the only person that worked that could type. We had a bunch of people. We used to do things, type reports and things like that for management analysts. And I am a management analyst. That's what I do. If you had a problem, call me. I'll figure it out for you. But anyway, I'm gonna tell you, and she's also a Seattle Seahawks fan too. All Alaskans love that football team, right? And Carolyn, the Bureau of Land Management. The Bureau of Land Management, you can't get a job there unless you are elite and white. So I went. My boss, she said, "Wow, this guy." I went to her. She said, "Look, I'll call a few friends, do some recommendations." And she called this one lady. She said, "Look, this guy, Heavy Montae, he's good. You know what I'm saying? You need him." So anyway, America, I went there. I took the interview. They fell in love with me, and I got the job there. You see what I'm saying, America? And when I was there, all of a sudden, they were fighting the government at the time under George Bush against veterans. You know what I tell you? They were trying to do away with any type of things like the Veterans Readjustment Act, where they had to hire veterans first. You see, I think veterans should be hired first. And I'm going to tell you why. So that's why we have these problems right now. Some of us were able to come back to America, have lives, but some of us have issues that needed to be addressed by our country. You see what I'm saying? Especially the mental illness portion of it. These things need to be addressed, and mental illness should be available to us, and they should say, I know you're getting out, but if you have any type of issues, here's this little card. You can come and see us, you see, and you take care of the veterans. They say we have homeless veterans. Huh? Homeless veterans. That's not a huge population, America. These are men that I have served with, huh? That would lay down their lives for you and your children. Huh? You know, I did a lot of things with the military the rest of my life because I was crazy as hell. I was an M60 machine gunner, you know. Love surveillance. You know what I'm saying? Like to be standing right by you and you're saying things like, we're going to bomb, Americans at 9:45. And I'm writing it down. I'm wiring it into my company. And when you come up the hill, I'm waiting on your ass with my M16 machine gun. You see what I'm saying? And I say that story not to be violent, not to hurt anybody. I'm just saying that that's what we're up against, America. A Republican Party that's trying to kill us all. Donald Trump and Elon Musk is fighting. You know, you understand. But I want to end this podcast with saying, support your veterans. We are not losers and we are not suckers. And, before I go, I'm sorry, veterans, and I'm telling all you veterans out there, this is only my opinion, because I respect my brothers, regardless if you're a maggot, if you're whatever, you're a veteran first. But in the opinion of H. Montae, never, ever vote for a Republican because they called us losers and suckers, and we are not. And please subscribe to the Heavy Montae YouTube channel.